Hi, this is Kevin from Let Me Tech You, and in this video, we're going to be going over how to back up and restore your Azure blob storage accounts or storage accounts in Azure using Backup Center in Azure. Now, there are two types of backups that you may be looking into if you're looking to do this, and that's operational backups and vaulted backups. Vaulted backups are kind of more so in a preview stage right now. Well, it's available, but it's only available. There's some limitations. It's only available in certain regions. I think you have to be, like certain regions. There's a couple other things. I'll put some stuff down into the description down there below. But basically, what we're going to be going over today is operational backups. And these type of backups is a local backup that maintains data for a specified period of time in the actual storage account itself. So this doesn't actually maintain any additional information in the actual vault that we're creating. This solution allows you just to retain data for up to say a year. Long retention durations may, however, lead to longer time taken during the restore process. So, if you're trying to restore something from like say 6 months ago, it could just take a little longer to restore. Now, if you delete a container from a storage account by calling the delete container operation or whatnot, the container can't be restored with a restore operation. So rather than deleting an entire container, it's best just to delete individual blobs. Now, if you may want to restore them later. So that's why Microsoft recommends enabling soft delete for containers, in addition to operational backup to protect against any accidental deletion of the containers. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you're in Azure here, we're going to go to Backup Center. And this is kind of Azure's, I guess you could say enterprise level of management for backups across Azure, whether it be SQL. There's a couple different data source types. You got Azure Files, Azure Disk, Kubernetes, PostgreSQL, so on and so forth. So first, let's just create a backup. So we need, or a vault. So we need a backup vault and not a recovery services vault. And underneath it does show the supported data sources. And as you can see on the backup vault, we need this because we're going to be backing up Azure blobs. Over here, you would be able to do like VMs and things like that. So we're going to hit continue. And then subscription, if you have a resource group, you can throw it in there. I'll throw it inside of one that I already have. And then we'll give it a name. Now, depending on where you place your resource group will depend on if you're able to do, like I said, vaulted or operational. So that's something you'll be want to make sure you check into the limitations if you're trying to go the vaulted backup route. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a backup vault name of just, storage or backup vault. I'm just going to call it backup vault. Region, I'm going to put this in Central US. And backup storage redundancy, this is basically, do you want it locally redundant? Do you want it zone redundant, which, you would have multiple copies within the same zone or multiple zones? And then globally redundant would be where you would have, like, say, one in one region and then another copy in another region. And this would just all depend on your cost needs, data retention, RPOs and RTOs, and then also if you would like to restore and access data in another region. So we're going to go to our vault properties. Now you can enable immutability, and basically what this is, it basically keeps data for a specified period of time that you set, so that the retention, basically, you can't delete data that should be held for, like, say 2 years. So if you turn on immutability and your retention period is, 2 days, and you try to delete it on day one, the immutability is basically just a way to kind of prevent that. So you want to be weary of actually doing that, turning that on, because that can incur some costs you may not want to incur. So we're going to keep that off there. Retention period, that's, like I said, that's also going to depend on your time period, things like that. So you can do like 30 days, do some tags if you want, but we're just going to go ahead and create that. So we're going to let that get created. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to grant permissions to the backup vault on storage accounts. So I'm going to go to my storage account, and then inside the storage account, we're going to go to access control IAM, and we're going to hit add and then role assignments. And then what we're going to do, and then also they might even have, like add role assignment, grant access to this resource. So it kind of takes you to the same thing here. So then we're going to look for the role called storage account backup contributor. And as you can see, it says lets you perform backup and restore operations using Azure Backup on the storage account. So we recommend you assign this role to the backup vault before you configure backup. That way it's already in place and everything like that. Then we're going to go to members, select members, and we're going to look up backup vault. Hit select, and then review and assign. So now that we got that assigned, we're going to go ahead and need to create it. But now sometimes role assignments may take up to, 30 minutes or so to take effect. So if you set everything up and you try to back, a storage account up, you might run into an issue where it says like protection error. It can't configure it. Don't worry about it too much. Just give it some time to propagate and try it all over again. So now we're going to go ahead and create a backup policy. So we're going to go back to Backup Center. Click on our vault. We're going to create a backup policy. And policy name, just going to call it Azure Storage Account. Call it whatever you want. And then Azure blobs. We want to make sure we select the data source type. And then, as you can see here, the backup schedule, so you don't, for operational backup, performs continuous backups and blobs and does not require a schedule. So you don't need to schedule, like say, hey, every night at 12, back it up. It's just doing continuous backups based on like versioning and things like that. So those are always going to be something that you can do to where you can do point in time recoveries, at certain times. Once changes are made, there's going to be versioning and things like that that's going to be getting turned on. So once we got that all set up, we're going to go ahead and hit next, review and create, and create. So once that gets created, next what we're going to need to do is then create a backup. So we're going to go to overview. We're going to hit backup and just go through the prompts here. We're going to make sure our backup account or backup policy selected. And then this is where we want to choose the, so this says container selection is only applicable to vaulted backups. We're actually going to be choosing, let me see here. Oh yeah, so we're not going to be choosing make sure we're in the right. So it's not showing it. Let's go back to the storage account here. Sometimes it's a little. So if we go on the actual, oh, there's nothing in there. Let's create something real quick. And then upload, let's just upload a file. All right, so we got that set up. And then now let's go down here to data protection. Enable operational backup. Let's do it from here. Oh. So it's not seeing the vault. Let's do a refresh. Like I said, sometimes it can depend on the timing between, because we're in the same region. This is East US, local redundant, storage v2. There could be some settings that could be off that. Yeah, let's go back to the backup center here. Go back to our vaults. And then backup. Azure blobs. And then go next again. Next on the policy. Oh, I see what's going on. So I could have swore I put the vault. Okay. That's our problem. So the vault's in central US, but it should be in East US. Because you can only back up to a vault that's in the same region as those resources. So what's probably going on is if we go back to okay. So yeah, I must have switched it back. So let me create another vault real quick. Here. And we'll put it in the same resource group. So East US. Kevin test 2. Local redundant. All right. East US. I might have chose Central US only because I do a lot of stuff in Central US, which kind of makes sense sometimes, depending on what kind of resources you're building. So now that we got that set up, I'm going to go ahead and create that policy again. And then Kevin test 2. Actually, let's go storage account 2. Let's go storage policy new. All right. Now you see that we're now if you actually can see now, since we're in East US, it gives you the options for vaulted backups, but we're not going to select that there. Just going to do operational and create. So now that that's created, what we need to do also is go back into, so this backup vault, we need to add back on that storage account. Under the access control. And again, that's storage account contributor or backup contributor. Select members, look for that backup vault, and select and assign. Now, best practice would be to go in can find it. Remove the one that's no longer needed. So now that we got that set up, we can go back to the backup center and go to our vault. We go to backup, Azure Blob, the vault that we want it to go to, the storage policy, and then now we can see our storage account. So it's an operational backup, so it doesn't need a container selection. You will have to have containers actually inside the backup storage or the storage account so that it doesn't air out or produce any errors when it's trying to back up anything. So it's best to back it up once you get some stuff in there. And now that it's a success, we can go ahead and go move forward and configure backup. Now what you'll see, what this will do is it'll actually make some configuration changes on the storage account. And as you can see, it actually puts this blob change feed directory in there. Got this logs directory. And then we'll probably even see some stuff like no previous versions. So let's actually go into our data protection. And we can now see that we have operational backups configured, maximum restore points configured. So as you can see, these are all grayed out because it's handled by the backup policy itself. So another thing you can do is enable soft delete for containers and enable permanent delete for soft deleted items. So this permanent deletes enables you to permanently delete a soft deleted snapshot of Bob version before the retention period ends. But it's good to have this turned on because it keeps deleted containers for a period of time. So let's say, so this doesn't store any information in the vault itself. It just keeps it local. It has versioning, stuff like that turned on. It enables point in time restore for containers. But if the actual storage account itself got deleted, or enables soft delete for the containers themselves, then you'll be able to actually restore those directly back to the state that they ran before they restored. Now, as far as for the storage account itself, you can go in and make sure that let's see, we probably go back on the overview page. You should be able to see blobs soft delete. See, it has it enabled 35 days, and that's it. So there's a couple other settings that you can kind of check into, but the versioning is enabled. So now when files get changed, if you need to restore anything, you can come in, you can click this, you hit restore containers, you can store selected, and then you'll have your option to choose how far back you want to go. So as you can see, we only have this time frame, and then you can choose what time you want the backup session to look for. So again, that's took a little longer than expected, but that's how you do operational backups using Azure Storage. In our next video, we'll talk about how to do this using Azure Policy, so that way it's automated. You don't have to worry about doing exactly what we just did, by a storage account per storage account. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.